Hi, everyone. This is Professor Muldrow once again, and I am going to show you in this lab how to use built-in functions in Java, and then also to create your own functions in Java. Let's start with the built-in functions, specifically the ones in Java's built-in math class. Now, here on the left in this PowerPoint slide, you see several functions that are already written for you. Most of them are pretty straightforward. ABS stands for absolute value. Max stands for maximum, larger of two values. Min stands for minimum, smaller. The two I want to focus on are these right here. One called math.ceil, which is short for ceiling, and math.floor. These two functions do what I refer to as weird rounding. They round numbers, but not in the way you might think. Now, if you look at the Java code on the right, you'll notice I've written code here in part 1 where I'm outputting the value returned by these functions that are in the parentheses, these math dot whatever functions. The first one is math.pow. That means power. And you have two parameters, an 8 and a 3. That means you take the 8 and raise it to the third power. In the pow function, the first parameter is always your base. The second parameter is always your exponent. And 8 raised to the third power gives you 512. Now, here is that ceil function that I was telling you about. Notice it has a parameter of 4.22, but the output we got for it is 5. What the ceil function does is it rounds up to the nearest largest whole number. It won't round to 4 like you normally expect it to, because that 4 is not larger than 4.22. So the ceil function always rounds to the next highest whole number. So 4.22 from the ceil function will get you a 5. In contrast, here is the round function. Now, the round function does normal rounding, exactly what you expect it to. So that means that if you use 4.22 in the round function, you get a 4. Now we're going to use the floor function. The floor function rounds to the nearest lowest whole number. So that means if you put 4.75 into the floor function, you're not going to get a 5, you're going to get a 4. That's the next lowest whole number from 4.75. Whereas if you put 4.75 into the round function, now you'll get normal rounding, and 4.75 normally rounds to 5. That's how those math functions work. We also have a couple of built-in constants within the math class. There's math.e, which is that 2.718 and so on decimal. And more importantly, there's math.pi, 3.14159. That's predefined within the math class. Now, also on this slide in part 2, as you can see, I've created 2 more functions. These are not built-in functions. These are functions that I created within my Java class. I've named one of them area. Now, when you create a function in Java, you start with the keywords public and static, like you do with main. You must also give the function a type, like you do with main. Now, since these functions are returning values, both of these two functions, the type will not be void. We previously looked at functions that did not return a value. Those are public, static, void, just like main is. But since these functions are going to return a value, we are going to give it a type. In this case, I'm going to give it the type integer. The function's name is area, and I'm sending one parameter. There is one parameter being passed to this function. In this case, the parameter is of type double, and I've decided to name the parameter radius because that's what it represents. This will calculate the area of a circle given the radius that is sent to it. Now, the formula for the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. That's what we're doing here. In this function, we chose to create a local variable, this variable a, short for area, and I'm setting it equal to math.pi, there's your pi constant, and now I'm using the pow function and raising the radius to the second power. I'm squaring it. So I take pi, multiply it by the radius squared, that all gets put into this variable a, and then I'm going to return the variable a. But what I'm also doing is, since the variable a is a double, and this function returns an integer, I need to typecast my variable to an integer. So that's what this int in parentheses is doing. It's converting the double value contained in the variable a to an integer. Now here's something very important to know. When you typecast a variable like this from double to integer, typecasting does not round, it just drops the decimal. The mathematical term for that is truncating. So the decimal just gets dropped. Typecasting does not round. Okay, now in this function for area, I chose to have a local variable declared and return the value of the local variable. But it's not required that you do that. Let's look at the second function I created. I have public, static. Once again, my type is integer. The name of this function is volume. It's going to calculate the volume of a sphere. And once again, I have one parameter, and it's going to be the radius of that sphere, and that's going to be of type double. Now, what I chose to do with this function is forget about using a local variable. I just decided to put the entire formula into my return statement. So as you can see, I have return, again, using typecasting and making an integer, but here is the formula. The formula for the volume of a sphere is 4 times pi times r cubed, or the radius cubed. And so here's 4 times pi times math.pow and radius with a 3. So we're raising the radius to the third power. And when all that is done, we divide it by 3. And that'll give us back the volume of the sphere. Now, since we have a function whose type is not void, both functions in this case, we must have a return statement. When your method is void, you do not have to use a return statement. But when your method is not void, it's any type other than void, you must have a return statement, which starts with the keyword return. And so I ran this program and gave each function or method a radius of 10. And I got my area of a circle with radius 10 in integer is 314. And the volume of a sphere with radius 10 is 4,188. There you have examples of creating your own value returning functions and using value returning functions that are built in to Java. If you have any questions, please send me an email at kmuldrow@lbcc.edu.